Hi, I'm Clint Whitsett. Today I'm going to show you how I created this painting of a 1942 Ford pickup for my wife as a Valentine's gift. Let's get started. Let's begin by painting some nice clouds that just float around and have fun all day. This painting has four basic elements. There's a background, a middle ground, and a foreground. That's three. But the elements are the background forest, the barn, the red truck, and the flowers that surround it. Now, the trees in the background were taken overlooking uh, Charleston area on the Oregon coast, near the Oregon Fisheries Marine Biology Center. And there was a lot of mist running through the trees at the time, some low clouds, a lot of wind. And so I just kind of created a couple of shapes and moved them around and put them together so that I could create depth and really kind of show a little bit of that mistiness in the trees, in the atmosphere. Now, the barn is created from basically several different images, photographs that I had, and also some pictures that I've looked at online, where I kind of had to pick the shape and then pick the texture and position of doors, and I just created a composite image of my own of a barn that just looked right, and it was turned the right way and at the right angle. I spent a lot of time painting the walls of the barn. I really wanted to show that the wood is very dark. It's not been painted or stained or anything. It's just simply that the wood doesn't get bleached out much by the sun because it's so often cloudy, and because the atmosphere is just so wet all the time that the wood tends to darken a lot. And this is probably, in today's dollars, the most expensive barn in the world because you notice that the boards don't have any knots in them, which is pretty much unheard of today. Uh, to find lumber anywhere that doesn't have any knots in it. But I didn't paint any into mine, so this making it a very, very expensive barn. Something that makes this painting very different from my other paintings is that it actually took me a full 4 days to do this painting. And this was, getting up first thing in the morning, coming out to the studio, working on it all day, taking a short lunch break, back to work. So I really put a lot more time into this painting than I normally do. I like to paint pretty fast and loose normally, and, just almost spontaneous. And this was very, very planned, and really had a focus and a plan and a structure that I wanted to put together with this painting. You can see here that I'm using a technique with a paintbrush that has just water on it, just lightly damp, to actually lift paint back off. And what I'm doing is I'm cutting a line there that visually represents the metal track that the doors would slide back and forth in. The pickup is a 1942 Ford pickup. It belongs to the family of a friend of mine, Kevin Bergdahl, and yeah, Kevin hopes to restore that truck someday. Hope he can eventually do that. Now, the actual photo of the truck, the hood on it is green. Most of the rest of the truck is more or less red. There's some black of the primer showing through, and a fair amount of rust. But I chose to make the truck a little more consistent with its red color and its rustiness. I have to admit that for much of this painting, I used much smaller brushes than I normally paint with. You can tell from the trees in the background, those were pretty loose and splashy and done with some pretty big brushes. But once you start getting into painting things like the barn and the truck and the flowers, it really requires a lot more detail, and so that means a lot smaller brush. And it's something I kind of had to get used to as I did the painting. Painting vehicles is another thing that's pretty challenging because they're all curves. There are some straight lines on this, but straight lines are harder to paint than curved lines, honestly. But just the way the light plays on the different surfaces And being that this was an overcast day, there aren't strong shadows that I could work with. Everything had to blend. There was, the curvature of things and the way the light wraps around the side of the door, around the hood, around the fenders. You really have to pull in some nice, gentle gradations with that. And so that challenges the technique a lot. There were also areas where I wanted to, create the rusty, rough texture, and that required a few tricks here and there too of sort of a dry brush technique. And then, of course, the flowers that surround the truck are the California poppies that grow prolifically up and down the Oregon coast, and they just really provide a wonderful pop of color. And originally, I kind of had a whole field of them all across the painting. And as you'll see in this, I decided that what I also wanted to include in here was the blackberry bushes. And you'll see from the video that I didn't actually know how to paint blackberry vines to begin with. So I started with an acetate overlay over the top of the painting that I could paint away on a little bit and kind of get an idea of how they would look and where they should go and size and everything before I actually put them on the painting. And then I decided that I needed a little bit of practice. So I did a couple of quick little study paintings just to learn how to paint the vines and paint the leaves on them and what they actually look like. Now at this point, I was a little nervous before I threw some paint on there, so I fiddled around for a while doing details on the truck before I got back to the blackberry vines. And then, of course, the whole atmosphere of this painting is meant to be sort of cool, misty atmosphere that you get along the Oregon coast so often. And but the truck and the barn seem warm and inviting. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed watching me paint today. If you're interested in prints of this painting or any of my other paintings, you can head over to witsatworks.com, and I've got all kinds of them on there. I also want to point out that I've just recently restructured all my pricing to include free shipping. So, that's a nice little perk for everybody. I hope that works out. Thanks, bye.